Hi, we're back with Community Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Todd Welsh, with episode 13. We're going to talk today with Kansas Wesleyan University President, Dr. Matt Thompson. We're going to talk a little bit about culture, how he got to Salina, and all of the activities and some of the development and residential Coyote campus that's going on, the Coyote Village. And so let's tune in now and talk to Dr. Thompson about Kansas Wesleyan University. And I'm back with Dr. Matt Thompson with Kansas Wesleyan University, and he's elected to join us today. I don't know I think you had a choice.
I did, but I was so honored that you asked.
Yeah,
so very appreciative.
I had to get in your schedule, though. I will be honest with you. You're the first person that I asked to be on here where I had to get way out into somebody's schedule.
Well, it was summer, so I was taking a little bit of vacation.
That's true, but it made it interesting because I think you're number 13, and of how many episodes we've done, and everybody else I've called either aren't as busy as you. They could do it right away. And so then what I thought was funny is going, okay, I'm going to have to start calling these very influential people in our community and getting on their schedules because people I don't really have a schedule. You know what I mean? It's like I do, but not really. Sure. I'm not as important as you. So
I don't know. You're doing some really good work in this community.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. So in 30 seconds or less, tell the listeners who you are, how you got here, and who your family is.
Sure. I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. Went to college at Mercer University. Met my now wife there. We were RAs together. I always tease the students on campus. Become an RA, find your future spouse. You know, it's a good plug to try to get more RAs to sign up. And just kind of fell into higher education. My wife was a year behind me in school, so I needed a reason to stay in town. And I got hired at my alma mater, and that started an almost 25-year career now in higher education. We moved here a little over 10 years ago, and I have a daughter who's 16. She'll be a senior in high school, and hard to believe that I'm on the other side of the table now doing college searches. Wow. And it's a very different feeling looking and seeing things from that perspective, and it's given me a lot of insights. But it's been an amazing ride, and I'm very blessed in my life.
Good. And your daughter, so you've been here. I did a little research on you too. So she would have moved here maybe then when she was 6?
That's right.
Yeah. And so it's interesting to watch her grow up in this community as well, because I can remember when you moved here and she was a child,
right?
You know, and then now at 16, and you're saying starting to talk about colleges and stuff. So exactly. It's amazing how fast the time goes.
It does. What was sort of funny is I interviewed in January for the job, and the only thing my daughter wanted for Christmas that year was to see snow. So we moved here. She came in February to visit with the campus, and we looked for a house and all those sort of pieces, and there was a foot of snow on the ground, and she was thrilled. I mean, just, a 6-year-old, first time seeing snow and that much snow. When she actually moved back in June, she was very disappointed. No snow. No snow. But we've had a lot of snow since then, and we all love being here.
Great. Well, again, love having you on here. We're going to dive into some stuff, you personally, what you're doing in the community, a little bit about Kansas Wesleyan and what's going on. A lot of exciting stuff going on at Kansas Wesleyan. But first of all, we have to do the plug of the sponsor. Yes. And thank you to Mochas, JRI, and Mochas for providing us with the Mochas Minute and the sponsorship. And so I had to call and figure out what it is that you like to drink.
Okay.
And a little birdie told me that it's decaf coffee.
It is.
With a shot of cream.
Yes.
And a lot of sugar.
Yes. I have been off caffeine for 20 years, but I love going to Mochas. I usually also get a mint coffee, or mint tea.
Mint tea.
Mint tea, yeah. So
somebody has to try the mint tea then. If
absolutely, guys, try the Moroccan mint.
Okay.
And Mochas is great. It's like a second office. I feel like I'm there 2 or 3 times a week meeting people. It's such a great place to go.
Well, and we were talking before the show, and Jason Ingermanson's name came up.
Absolutely.
And that maybe will come up a little bit later because he's a true sponsor, an advocate of Kansas Wesleyan University and doing amazing things.
And we're so appreciative of that. And he's just such a great human being. But he's also a great sponsor and advocate for so many things in Salina.
Correct.
I mean, you just keep seeing news announcements about all they're doing, and what a just wonderful gift to our community that he and his family are.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go all the way back. So as I talked about before, I kind of know who you are in the community. I mean, we see each other at different events and functions, exactly. But the reason I started this show is because I want the community, and truly I wanted to know where you're from and background and what makes you do what you do for the community. You could be living anywhere in the United States. You'd be doing whatever you want to do. And the influential people who I've been interviewing, it's interesting to see what their core values are and why they're in Salina, Kansas. So let me take you all the way back to senior in high school for you.
Okay.
Okay. So you're age 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you living at that time?
I was living in Jacksonville, Florida. Interestingly, I went to the same high school my father did, so lived in the same part of town, but a very large city, Jacksonville is. And yeah, it was a great experience. Now, I had been a Congressional Page my junior year in high school.
I read that on your article on the when I was doing the research.
Right.
I don't know what that is. So what's a page?
So a page is you had to be a junior in high school. You were selected by your congressman or woman, and we lived there for 6 months. I worked on Capitol. I worked on the floor of the House. My apartment that we lived in was 1 block off the Capitol in Congressional Building Annex Number 2, and we went to class every morning from 6:30 till about 10:30 in the attic of the Library of Congress.
Wow.
So talk about just an amazing experience. There were about 60 of us from all over the country, and just a wonderful experience. But that really got me into understanding public service and doing things for others and being a part of a bigger machine of how do we keep the country going.
I'm amazed you didn't end up into politics then.
Yeah, actually, my minor in college was political science, and wanted to know and understand. I'm not sure I want to run for office and do those pieces.
I
think
could be
there's other
talking
ways
to
serve.
Governor Thompson right now.
You could not be. No, I got a job, so I'm happy where I am.
Nice. And then so right out of college, right from there you went into college.
Went to college, went to Mercer University in Macon, Georgia, and it has a lot of similarities to Kansas Wesleyan. Small and just beautiful campus and just great people. In fact, I knew when I walked on the campus within 10 minutes this is where I was going to college. I felt that. And it was just, gave me all the experiences I could have hoped for and many, many more. And so just a really great experience. And as I mentioned, I stayed on and I ended up working there for 7 years after I graduated.
Okay. And then after graduation then from Georgia, where did you move to then?
So I was at Mercer for 7 years and decided, I got my master's at that point, decided I wanted to really stay in higher ed. It wasn't sort of a holdover anymore while I was waiting for my wife. And so I went to the University of Georgia, got my doctorate, and was just finishing all my coursework, and we found out we were pregnant. And I had just this little graduate assistant position, and I was like, I can't be a father making graduate assistant wages. So I started looking for a job, and it's kind of a small world. My brother went to Florida Southern College. He's 7 years younger than I am, and the new president there was a graduate of Mercer. So I had reached out to her to say, I'd love to just meet you. So at spring break, I had met her. Once we found out we were expecting, there was a job open to be dean of students. So I applied for that job, and I got it, and it was a real.
So you didn't really have to move; you just stayed.
Well, no, we were in Athens, Georgia, so we moved to Lakeland, Florida, for the job.
Okay.
So yeah, so moved down there, and kind of a crazy, fun ride being a dean of students for 4 years, and then I became the vice president for advancement, raising money at the university.
Okay. And then from there, you're going to make your trip to Salina then?
That's right.
Okay, so you were there. Okay. So how did you hear about, had you ever been to the Midwest before? Because you're way down in Florida.
No, I had not. In fact, I was nominated for the position, and there were about 8 finalists, and we all came in for airport interviews. And they always say it takes probably 10 of these interviews before you're going to get one. So I really thought I was practicing.
Right.
You know, I was only 37.
How old were you?
I was
37?
38. And so I was practicing. I got home and I told Jen, I said, well, if nothing else, I've at least been to Kansas. But of course, I'd been to Missouri. So that's how little I knew.
Right.
And so got invited back then for a campus interview as one of 3 finalists, and was offered the job. So had not spent any time here. And you know, we weren't really sure what to expect, but when we came and did that campus interview, we fell in love with the campus, with the students, the faculty, and the staff. The campus was beautiful. And coming from a much bigger town, we thought, well, we'll just go to Wichita a lot. We'll get, that'll be fine.
Right.
We don't. What we found is Salina is such a great place,
Yeah.
especially in the last 10 years, all the things that have been added in this community. It's just a great place to be.
Yeah. Did you really think, and you don't have to answer this truthfully, I guess, on here, but I would have thought, let me answer it for you, what I thought. Let me tell you what I think you should have thought, okay?
Fair enough. We'll try it.
I would have thought maybe you came here and go, okay, maybe this will be a couple of years, I'll get it on my resume, we'll get Kansas Wesleyan somewhere, and then in 3 years maybe I can advance and we'll leave the town and go from there. I mean, that would mean your daughter would go from maybe 6 to 8, 10.
Yep.
she could move again, then finish out somewhere in high school. Was that ever a thought for you? And
Sure,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, it wasn't like that is the plan, but it could be a plan.
Yeah.
And just how it goes. I mean, in some ways, the
'cause
university
you're
was taking a
37.
risk on me. I'd never been a president. I was young, and
Yeah.
who knew if I could keep the place going, and
Yeah.
not mess it up big time. And so, yeah, and the average college presidency is down to only about 3 years now.
All right.
And so that wouldn't have been that unusual. But there was just things I still wanted to do. So now we got past that point and realized this is it. We're going to be here. We definitely want to see our daughter graduate from high school and have that experience.
So you've been with Kansas Wesleyan now for 10 years?
That's right.
Yeah. I'm sitting back and watching the people that you're recruiting, and those people don't leave the jobs they're at if they don't see a culture
Right.
that's being created at this university. And I think that comes from you. I wanted to acknowledge that because, again, I've seen amazing things happen at Kansas Wesleyan University. And I know you've got a whole team. But, again, it starts at the culture and the mindset and the vision. Mm-hmm. And I really think that you have taken this, not only the campus, but the philosophy of what this is going to be. So can you talk a little bit about that, of where that vision came from the time you arrived at campus to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. It's evolved over time, but I definitely think the culture piece is an important distinction that you've made that became very intentional. We had, I think, as an institution, lived in a scarcity mentality. We don't have enough. We'll never have enough. We're appreciative that anybody is showing up to work here or to go to school here, and really had to shift that to say, no, we're doing great stuff. This is a place people should want to be. And how do we make sure that's happening? How do we inculcate that every day? Because as you know, culture eats strategy. So I mean, if we don't have a culture that can embrace that and live it out and feel it, and then that, I believe, builds on itself.
Yeah, I've never heard that. I got to stop you there because I've never heard that said before. Culture eats strategy.
Absolutely. I mean, you could have the best strategic plan, but if your culture is negative and isn't about capability and growth, doesn't matter what you put on paper, you're never going to do it because the culture is going to keep it from happening. Yeah. I didn't come up with it. So,
yeah, I'm giving credit to you. First time I've heard it, so I love it. Yeah.
But it's so true, and I think that's the realization pretty early on, is that we had to make some shifts in the culture to say, yes, we can. Not only yes, we can, but we have been, and owning that and feeling we deserve to be the place people want to be. We deserve to be asking for gifts and receiving gifts to invest in our students and in the campus. And that momentum, I think, has really built on itself in the last 10 years. But as you said, it's phenomenal other leaders that are on campus that I get to work with. And I agree with you. I feel like we've been really blessed with folks who've chosen to come to Kansas Wesleyan because they saw that energy. They've left other opportunities that were really great because they wanted to be a part of what we were doing at the university.
Yeah. And most recently, you've had some hires where I go, wow, they left there to go to there, and so I won't mention any names because there's several of them who have done it. But again, I start to recognize that because people, they want to be led. They want to go where there's a great culture and somebody who's taking them in the new direction. And so,
well, I also think we spend so much time at work. Don't we want to work in a place that's life-giving, that does something that's meaningful? When you get up every day and you're a part of, whether you do it directly or indirectly, changing the lives of a student and their families. I mean, what we do, especially for first-generation students, is generational changing. When you're the first to go to college, you've now opened up the door to your children and grandchildren, and even your siblings and your parents about opportunities and possibilities that maybe weren't dreamt up before.
Yeah.
How do you not get excited to do that every day?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they don't test you every now and then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's part of what we do, and we're so student focused. That's what drives the decisions we make at the university every day, is giving students the best experience that we can give them, that they deserve, that they've paid for, that it's going to set them up for their careers.
Right. If we were to interview some faculty, I call you the management down there. You're the manager.
Yeah.
What's your management style down there? Would they say that you're more hands-off, more hands-on, more micromanager? Do you know everything that's going on? Is that important to you? Or are you the type that puts people in place and let them do their job and then kind of check in? What would they say?
I would say my answer is probably different today than when I arrived.
Okay.
I was very hands-on with lots and lots of details. Generally, I'm a little less hands-on. We've hired great people who are doing what needs to be done. I'm paying attention. I like
Right.
to know what's going on. I always say bad news doesn't get better with time. So if I need to know something, let me
right
know.
away. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be caught out at an event somewhere and people are telling me things that I should know. But no, I think people are doing their jobs and we need to empower them to do their jobs. Check in, you endorse, you encourage, you ask them questions, trust but verify,
Yeah.
all those sort of pieces. But I would say generally that's probably what people would say. I'm sure there are a few who may say some other things as
They
well.
always will. They always will. But typically, I can tell by the retention of the employees and the people who are staying whether they like the culture and the management style of what's going on. And so I can see that. But as much as I want to know what's going on, I like for people to listen to this of picking up some entrepreneurship stuff of leading.
Yeah.
And again, as you being one of the leaders that's there, I often ask the guests going, okay, what's your management style and your leadership style? And then where that came from. So who was somebody that you look back on and you go, okay, I learned most of my skills where I'm currently at by this particular person. Is there anybody who comes up in your head that
Yeah,
was influential in your creation?
There are a number of people. The one that comes first to mind is Dr. Godsey, who was the president of Mercer when I was both a student as well as I worked for him directly. I really was gifted with a lot of opportunities very early in my career. He hired me fresh out of undergrad, and I worked directly with him for almost 7 years and got to see him in action, see him lead the institution. He was there probably 25 years, about that time I had been there, so he had really built the institution and seen how he'd done it, built a team. So yeah, he's many others, but he's the one that stands out.
You stay in contact with him now?
You know, I have a little bit. We write occasionally, Christmas cards and those sort of things, but he very much knows how much he's meant to my life.
Good. Let's flip roles a little bit and go on to campus.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of exciting things going on with campus that's there. First of all, we'll talk about you tore down an old dorm.
Yes.
And now I see a sign there that says it's the future hall of
Bieber Dining Hall.
Bieber Dining Hall.
First new cafeteria dining hall in 60 years on campus.
Wow.
So it's going to be so exciting to have a brand new facility.
And that name came from Bieber, is that?
Jeff Bieber, he was our board chair 2 board chairs ago and had a wonderfully successful career and was very generous with the university.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I made a $3 million gift to the SAMS Music Project, as well as the dining hall and to the Community Resilience Hub project.
Great for him. That speaks a lot too for people to want to give back.
Absolutely.
When they're going through, they must be very influential in their life. What do you think will happen then with the current dining hall? Will that get bulldozed and something built there? What do you think?
Well, it's in the basement or the first floor of Pfeiffer Hall, so hopefully it won't get bulldozed
Okay.
because we need the rest of that building. No, we haven't decided what we're going to do with that space.
Okay.
Academic space, maybe more dorm space. We're still exploring. We want to get the new facility up and going, and then we'll make a decision about that. But yeah, we took down North Hall. We also took down South Hall, 2 old apartment-style buildings that have been on campus that had outlived their usefulness.
Yeah. I'm trying to think where South Hall would have been on Cloud Street.
That's right.
Forgot about that one.
Yes.
Yeah. So took that
Grassed
down.
over. It looks really beautiful.
Yeah, it does. It does. And then let's talk about what's the proper name for the new little Coyote Village is what I'm calling
Coyote
it.
Village, that's
Is that
right.
what it is?
Yeah,
Wow,
Coyote Village.
I pulled that out of nowhere.
You did great.
What a great name, because that's exactly what I would have called it, like Coyote Village.
So yeah, we're building 7 tiny homes right now. They're 1,000 square foot, 2-story houses that will house 5 students each. 2 bathrooms, laundry, a little kitchen, and little sitting rooms on each floor. We think this is an exciting new way to do student housing. Part of it is teaching folks that you don't have to have as much. You can live with a little bit less and have a really great experience. And these aren't people's forever homes. These are college housing, right? They're going to be there for a year or 2. And then they're going to go out. So we think of this as a pathway to independence. So you start as a freshman in a traditional dorm, community bathrooms and those sort of things, and then you end up in the Coyote Village in a house, living with some roommates, but living in community with other people, and then you're ready after you graduate to go and get your first apartment and to live with others. And helping them to have that confidence.
Yeah, I happened to step inside one of them because it's such a unique concept. I wanted
thanks for
to see what
breaking
was
in,
going
Ernie.
in. Yes, I did.
appreciate that.
Said no
You're the
trespassing.
only one who's done that, I'm sure.
Said no trespassing. I went, well, that's for other people. That's not for me. And so, because I wanted to see him, it was an interesting whole concept, and I liked it. I'm like going, God, this is going to be the interaction that can happen in what I call the courtyard of the village is
Absolutely.
going to be amazing.
Yeah, people have questioned, like, why do they all face backwards? It's because
Right.
we want them to face in towards each other
100%.
with this courtyard. And I don't think I said, but the plan is we're going to build 30 of them over time. So it
That was gonna
really,
be my
all
next
the way
question.
down that area, will create this new village of housing.
I love it. Like I think the vision of that, the concept is amazing. But when I stepped in one, I was like going, oh my God, they're so, like this bedroom is so small and then this is bad. And then when I got to talk to other people, they're like, hey, I don't know whether you did a survey, but I can imagine even if I went to college and you said, okay, would you rather live in a little bit bigger space, but somebody right next to you, like basically a roommate, or would you rather have your little 8x8 space and be able to shut your door, do your thing, your homework, and have your space and have a bathroom and stuff? That's exactly what I would want.
Yeah.
Over living with somebody.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Most students going off to college have never had a roommate.
Right.
I mean, most of them have always had their own bedroom. So we haven't been able to offer that in traditional dorms, and now we can. And people want some privacy, and they want their space. But we've intentionally built in living space, right? So
Right.
yes, your room may be smaller, but you still have a living room and a kitchen and place to hang out. And that's really where we want to live our lives, right? Is in
Right.
community.
Will they be able to cook? I mean, I saw
Yeah,
the stuff
absolutely.
for a kitchen,
Yep.
so they can cook in it.
I mean, you're not going to make Thanksgiving dinner, but you're going to make cookie and pizza, and
Yeah.
a lasagna, something like that. So yeah.
A little bit of top ramen,
Yeah,
a little bit of
absolutely. Absolutely.
college life that's there.
Or you're just going to run to Freddy's. or
Exactly.
Mochas.
Oh, look
Yeah,
at
right,
that!
yeah,
Trying to
so,
get that in.
yeah.
A little bit of a suck up to Jason
Oh,
on that. I mean,
why
it never
not?
hurts,
No,
though,
of
does
course
it?
Not.
Yeah.
Well, I like it, so it's not a hard thing to suck
Exactly.
up on. So, yeah.
So 30 of those. So you guys, I know you've been buying up property around the university, being good stewards of not only for yourself, but thinking down the road 10, 15, 20 years.
That's right.
Because what I know to be true is sometimes when a property comes up around you, you may not have a use for it right then, but you have to think about the future because once that property sells again, it may be 20 years before you have the opportunity to even
Or 20 times the price.
or 20 times the price. Yes,
Yes.
once they figure out what you're doing. But so it is kind of interesting to watch what you guys are doing. Now, I'm going to go all the way back and see if this is true or not. Like I'm starting to do some research on history of developments and who used to own certain
Sure.
buildings and things like that. I believe, unless you tell me wrong, that Kansas Wesleyan used to own all of that ground at one point in time. Like it used to be called Kansas Wesleyan Addition. And
Yes.
you owned hundreds of acres.
We did.
And then you sold, I guess over the years, they sold that off. And now it's funny that you're buying it back.
I know. Well, they needed the money back in the day, so I understand why it was sold off, but I wish they had saved a little bit more, make it a little bit easier. But actually, that was sort of the enticement for the Methodists to come to Salina. They looked at multiple locations around the state, and the Salina forefathers and foremothers came forward with a proposal to say, we will give you all this land that you can sell to pay for the start of the school. And that's what got us to come down here. So according to the history I've read, it was all potato farms at that end. I mean, so there really wasn't anything at that end of the city at that point. So they gave us, I don't know how many 100 or so acres they gave us, but all that's
pretty
around
big.
us was Kansas Wesleyan land initially.
Yeah, when I saw an old map, I just kept going like all the way. It was far. I mean, almost
Yeah.
all the way over to Ohio Street.
Yeah.
Well, of what we know is now is Ohio.
Right.
And then as far down, it just went a long way. And so it was amazing to me of how, and I'm glad you're sharing that with me. I think that's really cool. Is who gave you that land? Why did they? But that's all starting to make sense. Is if you come here, we'll give you all this, and you can sell it off to create it.
That's exactly right. You know, Santa Fe wasn't paved all the way down to where the college is now, which is part of the reason University United Methodist Church was built. The faculty and staff tithed 20% of their earnings to build that building because you couldn't easily get down to First United Methodist Church because, again, the roads weren't paved. But I don't know if you've noticed, but the whole city is laid out in a cross shape. So at the north is St. John's Military School, or was.
Okay.
We're at the south. To the east was Marymount, and then to the west was a normal school. So there were 4 points on that cross all around education, which I think is a real testament to this community.
Yeah.
They were committed to education. I mean, we're talking the early or late 1800s, 1880, 1886 in those years.
So, but was Kansas Wesleyan always, was it started at that campus
It
then?
was.
Okay,
Yep.
I didn't know that. I didn't know if they were somewhere downtown and then they built that facility later on, but
No,
it started
we did
there.
have a campus downtown at one point.
Okay.
That was eventually sold to become Brown Mackey. So Brown Mackey was really birthed out of Kansas Wesleyan.
Okay.
Professor Brown and Mackey from Kansas Wesleyan. It was the Kansas Wesleyan Business School downtown, and So yeah, we have been downtown,
Yeah.
but we've always been
This
where
is
we are.
exactly why I do this.
Good,
Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
love the history because I'm not from here,
Yeah.
and so before I didn't really care, and now I'm like going, okay, this has been the community this is my community,
Right.
or
Absolutely.
our community, but in my mind, I think of it as my community, and I'm starting to appreciate what everybody has done in the past to make it to where it is, today. Like we were talking a little bit about downtown, or you're saying you used to have a campus downtown. And nobody, we talk about downtown a lot, everybody who comes on here, I mean, that's why we have the backdrop on here.
Right.
It's amazing what's going on in our community right now, but to be able to anchor it with Kansas Wesleyan at the other end, because without the community support, and again, I want to go back to the culture of what you're doing, without the community support and the culture, my belief is, had they not hired you, I really believe that the south end of Santa Fe, which is where Kansas Wesleyan is, could have gone totally the other way. I mean, I really believe that with what you've done in the community, rallied around the people. I see you at the events. Like, there are a lot of people, like I'm concerned, I won't mention names either, but I watch other people come into our community and they take over pretty important pieces of our community, and I never see them. Mm-hmm. I never see them out in the community, and that's so different from you because I see you out at different functions. I see you shaking hands. I see you at the chamber events. I see you doing whatever it is, and you have become the face of Kansas Wesleyan University, and I think that's so cool. The other thing that I'm going to say, and I don't know whether it was by your choice or by your board, but one of the things that I respected the most, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, did you live at where you lived now, then moved out, and then wanted to be closer to campus? How did that all come about?
So 2 presidents ago, they bought the Kerwin House, which is where I live on the edge of campus. And I wanted to live there, but there was somebody living in the house when I arrived.
Okay.
So we bought a house out on the east side of town over near the baseball area. And but as soon as that house became available, we moved back. So we've been on campus 7 years. My wife and I just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary, and only 5 of those years have we not lived on a college campus.
Yep.
And 3 of those were our first 3 years here. So we wanted to be on campus. We wanted to be able to have students and faculty and staff over and walk to events and walk campus and just be a part of the life of the institution.
Yeah, and again, much respect for that because I know the house you lived in, beautiful home.
Yeah, thanks.
And for you, that's what I'm saying is like I watched all that. Like you moved from this magnificent home to now. I'm not saying that the house you don't live in is beautiful now, but smaller closets, I'm sure. Everything's a little because it's an older house.
It's almost 100 years old.
Yeah, almost 100 years old. So totally different when you came from. But I watched that happen and I went, okay, there's a guy who is creating culture by saying, look, I'm not better than you. I'm going to live on the same campus. I'm going to be on the campus. You need me. I'm going to be here. And I'm going to walk the sidewalks and the hallways with the students who choose to be at our facility.
Yeah, I don't know any other way than to be all in. And so we're all in. We talk about this as a family job. We're going to events together. But it's a little easier when I am on campus to do that. But going back to culture and maybe how involved I am or micromanaging or those sort of things, for me though, it's about the gift of presence. If you show up to places, it matters. When I go to faculty or staff offices and visit with them in their offices, or I go to events, I think it shows our commitment. And I think sometimes people don't always recognize in leadership roles what the gift is when you show up, just being somewhere. In some ways, it's not me, it's the position. But when the president shows up, it means the university has shown up.
100%.
And that it matters. And so I get that. And so it's a priority for me to be places and to support others and to let our students know that we're there with them.
Yeah. Well, I can even imagine. My wife and I were host parents for several years.
Thank you.
Okay. And Jenna Ferris, I can remember her name, and Cora, and a bunch of the girls on the basketball team we were host parents for them. And I will tell you that it made me feel good while you were there too. And so if I saw you walk in, not only did you acknowledge us as host parents to know that was there, it's like it was nice to be seen. Mm-hmm. It was nice for us to do something for the community, and by you walking in, recognizing that we were doing that for your college and supporting it. But by you showing up, you're not a guy who just says, okay, it's 4:00, school is done, I'm going to go sit in my AC and watch Grey's Anatomy or whatever it is that you watch,
It wouldn't be Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
but
I'd be
you
passed out on the floor.
yeah,
I can't
but
do
you
that.
do like you show up.
Yeah.
You show up, and that's what I'm going to say about you is I appreciate how much you show up and I see you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and but I also love being with people. The people in this community and on our campus are great people to be around, and that makes it a lot of fun to do what I get to do, and what my wife and the daughter and I get to do together. But if I could put a quick plug in, we're recruiting host families. It's a great experience, and it's a great way to get to know some of the future folks who are going to be helping run this country, and to be a part of their lives. But we also find a lot of folks who become host parents because they have kids, and they want them to be around college kids and see what the possibilities are. So if you're interested, just be in touch, because we'd love more people to be host families.
Yeah, we were a host family for the men's basketball too, and I wish I could remember. You guys are going to know him. I can't even remember. He goes by a nickname, but he's a basketball coach, and he stayed in town. He's got like 5 kids now.
You're talking about Brandon Cheeks?
Brandon Cheeks.
Yes, of course.
Brandon Cheeks, we were host parents when he moved to town.
Oh my gosh.
And Brandon Cheeks, and so when I see
He's
him,
now the
guy's
principal at Sunset.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
He
So
was
proud of him,
he was
his
so
wife.
so I would have met him maybe when he was 18, 19 years old, and he was on the basketball team, and his smile will light up a room. He is the nicest kid ever.
And the sharpest dresser in town.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, he is always dressed on
Yeah.
point. Yes,
I
I
was
wish
at
I had that sort of was a clothes horse like he is, and had his style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His daughter was serving. We went to a non-for-profit at the Bicentennial Center, and his family was serving the meal. They came out and served the meal, and Jeff Wells, I was with him, and he's like, "Hey, this is Brandon's daughter." And I'm like, "Oh, is your dad here?" And then, so I told her something, which I won't go on camera and say, and I said, "Tell him this."
Right.
And it was something that had happened when we were host families on there. And about 10 minutes later, boy, here he came out of the back, and he knew exactly who it was. So you're exactly right. The host parent, the experience that we had was amazing. It wasn't a lot of time, but it was amazing. Like when we would invite them either to our house or just for them to get out of the dorm and go to Applebee's
Yes.
and experience that. And we had a great time. And I'm not sure is Blanchard still
Oh yes.
putting that all together?
Yeah. Well, the men's part, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, men's basketball, they do.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's somehow I got into, and then I ended up with, I don't remember who put together for the women's basketball or how we got involved there, but again.
Well, how do you say no to Leah Blanchard?
Exactly. So another great part that's going on. Two things I want to do. I don't want to keep you here very long, but as I was reading also, you can, if the students want to chat with you, there was something on the website about you have a chat that's available, and then there was an acronym that I wanted you to talk about, and I think it was the word "and."
Okay.
Does that, you know what I'm talking about?
Well, our kind of motto slogan is the power of and.
Power of "and."
Yes.
Tell me what that's about.
So at its simplest form, it's for students thinking about, I love my sport, I love doing music in high school, and I want to get a degree, couple that with getting a degree. And you can do all those things at Kansas Wesleyan. So I can be an athlete, I can be a musician, and I can be a student. But it gets more richer as you go through your college experience. It's the ability to study the theoretical in the classroom and do the practical. Go out and do field experiences or do a research project that brings it to life. It's the ability to grow intellectually and spiritually. It's the ability to be involved on campus and in the community. So it's that and, again, it's that idea of abundance, that we are the sum of all the things we are. And when you can put more things into your basket, that you become richer, better ready to serve the community.
Wow.
So we love talking about and. It's fun too, because you'll hear students who they'll make you stand up and a speech or something like, I do this and I do this and I do this, and they recognize the power. And what's really neat about that, we've been using that maybe not quite 10 years, but it resonates for all of our alums. Historically, we've always been a place where you could be a student and do other things, and that just it's really great because it helps students also put the pieces together. Go when they go out looking for jobs or grad school, I'm all of these things, and I can do this, and I can do this, and I can contribute in these ways. So that's that power that we talk about. It's really proving itself. I mean, for the last almost 8-9 years, 99% of our graduates are employed or in grad school within 6 months of graduation. So we know we're doing it. We're doing the right things.
What's enrollment look like? About 900 students now? How many do you have?
It will be over 900, and probably about 950 this fall with grad students and undergrads. our undergrads will probably be up 10% over last year.
Yeah. And housing is an issue for you right now.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But we like good problems.
Yeah.
Better than the alternative of having empty rooms
yeah.
all across campus.
And I didn't mean that bad. I just
No,
mean
no,
like I want somebody to watch this in 10 years.
Yeah.
Like that's my goal.
Yeah.
Is for people to watch this in 10 years and go, okay, God, they were just building the Coyote Village, and now they were having and this is what they did. And like you're building a legacy for the next person to come in.
How exciting for him or her.
It'll
all be done. It'll be so easy.
It'll be so easy. Now they just got to maintain
Right,
everything
you
you're
don't screw it up,
creating.
right?
So give me 5 more projects that are going on campus right now. So if somebody watched this back in 10 years, what are the 5 projects going on right now that they could say, okay, those were going on in 2023?
So we actually have about $12 million worth of construction underway right now on campus. So we have the Coyote Village we talked about. We have the new dining hall, which will come out of the ground in the next couple of months. We have the Sam's Chapel renovation that's happening. We're putting an addition on the back of Sam's Chapel. It's going to be a beautiful 2-story new entrance from Cloud Street. And then we're also redoing the lower level of what the music classrooms and practice rooms and faculty offices are. So there's the big 3 projects we have going on. We have a couple more projects in development, but not quite ready.
Secret, huh?
Yeah. So
this is where I got to pull it out. Now I got to figure.
We'll go off camera. But no, there's several big things still to come, and the project that is not building but is really exciting is our Community Resilience Hub. This is an initiative to help create a resilient community. And we're starting with conversations around food. How is food grown? How do we help farmers transition to regenerative farming? How do we support local food getting into the food system? 90% of the food we eat in Kansas isn't grown in Kansas. So we're feeding the rest of the world, but we're not able to feed ourselves. And as we've lived through the crisis of the last few years where supply chain is broken down and the other issues, I think it's a really significant time to be talking about these issues. But it's not just about feeding people, but it's feeding them healthy food, chemical-free, whole foods. The National Institute of Health says that 80% of the health issues that we deal with as a country could be solved if we'd all eat more whole fruits, vegetables, nuts, and proteins. And so what we're putting into our bodies is significant in terms of the diseases and our overall health. And so we want to be a part of those conversations about how do we move that. We've partnered with the Rodale Institute. They are the founders of organic farming based out of Pennsylvania. They will be coming here to start a farm training program with us to help farmers make the transition to regenerative farming. And then we're also going to have a big announcement next week on August 2nd that will also push that project forward in new ways. So
wow. So Matthew, as you're listening back there, he's our producer that's back there, Matthew. So August 2nd, we're going to send him down there because we do another show called In the Community.
Oh, great.
And we like to spotlight what's going on in the community. And so we'll make sure that he's there August 2nd, wherever that's going to be, for a nice announcement from Kansas Wesleyan.
And it's another time, we sort of started talking about how important Salina is, and I want to circle back to that. Kansas Wesleyan wouldn't be what it is without this community. We talk all the time as a leadership team about we would rather be nowhere else. If we could pick up Kansas Wesleyan and move it somewhere, we wouldn't.
Yeah.
Being in Salina matters. It's just the right size city. But more importantly, this city cares about us.
Yeah.
They invest in us. They're host parents. They're giving part-time jobs. They're hiring students when they graduate. They're investing in us in just amazing ways. And this announcement will be another connection point for a long-time Salina family making a big, important announcement and gift to the university.
Cool. Last thing is, and you can, this will be a tough question because it'll come across maybe as going, well, I'll just ask the question.
Okay.
What could the community do more for Kansas Wesleyan?
Sure.
Like if somebody was listening right now, what could we do to take it, just make it a little easier for you, or to make the more of a commitment on there? What comes to mind first as the leader of what would you like to see the community rally around Kansas Wesleyan University? What would that be?
For me, it's all going to be student facing, right? So become a host family. Get to know a student, pour into their lives. People are like, do you mind if you work with a student? I'm like, no. Anybody who wants to pour in positively to the lives of our students and make them better and expose them to new people and new ideas, absolutely I want them to do that. So become a host family. Again, it's not a huge commitment, but when you show up, that gift of presence in their lives, it makes them feel special. And it makes them feel like I'm worthy, right? And I can do what I want to do, and people care about me. And some of these students are far from home.
Right.
And so having sort of a pseudo parent around who can answer questions or, Where do I get my hair cut? Just even simple things is one thing. If you have internship positions, let us know, because those first job experiences set them up in their career so they can have real world experience. It can be paid or unpaid. We look for both. Hire a student when they graduate. Of course, if you're listening and have a child or a grandchild, refer them to Kansas Wesleyan.
Yeah.
That's a major gift to us when you send students to be with us. And then finally, you can write a check.
Yeah.
I'm always happy to take money because it takes a lot of money to do what we're doing.
100%.
We don't get money from the state. We have to do it all on our own, which is fine because I also don't have all the state oversight. But it allows us to continue to grow and be an asset to the community. We're really proud of the fact that we are the liberal arts institution in town. We are the college athletics. We are the college music and all those experiences that bring folks in. And that's the other thing. Come to events on campus.
Yeah.
We love to see people on campus. Come support our students. Come to a football game. Come to a concert. Come to a play. Come to a lecture. You come and expand yourself and hear something new. So we love people to be on campus. And if you haven't, see what people say to me all the time is, oh, I drive by campus all the time. I said, you haven't seen campus. You got to get out and walk around the campus. We have probably spent close to $50 million on the campus in the last decade. And it shows when you walk around. And it's the buildings, we're blessed with a number of beautiful buildings that we've added to that. But now it's a really exciting time to be at Kansas Wesleyan. I say it's a great day to be a Coyote.
Yeah, it is. And even the grounds, you guys do a great job maintaining the grounds.
Great staff.
So, whoever's doing that, you guys are doing a great job maintaining that. It's just, looks amazing every time I do drive through.
You can see the pride in the work that they do.
You definitely can. Any other thing else in closing, or any other things that you'd want to add?
No, I really appreciate the opportunity. One of the things that we love about being here is how collaborative this community is. I've lived lots of places where it's kind of elbows out. It's just for me. And what I find in Salina is like, what can we do? How can I help you? How can we work on this together? And that's what I think makes this community so great. It's leaders and individuals, organizations who keep thinking about how to keep making this community better. I mean, this whole downtown project wouldn't have happened without people coming together. I could just do one thing. That's nice.
Right.
But it's that collective of what's happening in this community makes this the place to be. And everything that keeps happening in this community makes it easier for me to recruit students.
Yeah, very much so.
I mean, when students come here, we typically go, oh, we've got a Chick-fil-A and a Chipotle. Okay. When you're coming from somewhere else. And then they learn about the other great things they are to do and eat and enjoy here. But we're a big city.
Yeah.
And in some ways we sort of outpace because of all the amenities of a town our size. But it's a great attribute for us to campus.
Yeah. Like I say, I could live anywhere else in the United States and same as you.
Absolutely.
And we choose to be right here, and I love it. It's a great community. So
thanks for what you do.
Yeah, thank you. Matt, thank you again. Appreciate your time. Love getting into your schedule, and I've learned a lot about yourself. Thank you for your family, for being here, everything you've done for the university, and it shows. And I just want to say thank you for being a part of the community.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Go Yotes.